Thank you for stopping by Nurture Small Business Podcast. I am your host, Denise Cagan. If you're looking for stories that lift up women business owners, both in their personal and professional lives, you are at the right place. As always, if you like what you hear on today's podcast, please share it. You have my gratitude for doing so. Hello, and welcome to today's show. Today is another solo podcast. This is Denise's Opinions. It is not legal advice, financial advice, HR advice, or any other advice that is regulated under the law. It is just my opinion. So today I am going to talk to you about something that should go hand in hand with goal setting, if I'm being honest with you. This is something that can help create space for you to meet those goals. And I know everybody being at the end of the year, they're thinking about goals for the next year. Some people address it at the beginning of next year. Most people, in my experience, address it in Q4. What I want to talk to you about is actually culling the flock. And what I mean by that is firing clients. And you might be saying, I don't want to fire clients. I'm trying to grow. I can assure you that not all clients are good clients, and for a variety of reasons. Okay. So reason number one is your business has reorganized, restructured, pivoted, swayed, shifted, adjusted sail. You can use whatever term you want. I did this in about 2013 to 2014 with my current company. When I first started this company, my tagline was personal, professional, and administrative assistance. Yes, I did personal assistance. And why did I do that starting out? Because it was a low-hanging fruit, if I'm being very honest, and it generated income very, very quickly. I had a wide network where I was living, and as soon as I put the word out, I had clients within a few days. So it was easy to do. It also gave me a break from having employees. In 2013, however, I started the company in 2011. In 2013, however, I decided I want to grow. So we did a rebrand, and we also shifted away from the personal assistance, which means I had to shift clients off of me, whether you call it culling, reassigning, firing. It doesn't really make any difference. And it may have a little bit more to do with perception and how you handle it. In this particular instance, I actually looked for replacements for myself. Okay. Based on what the client's needs are and their personality, I looked for people. One of my very first client, I knew what she wanted. I knew what she liked. And I, set up some people for her to interview. My other client, they were a little bit more demanding, and I had no issue with that whatsoever. They were harder to match, but I did find a match for them that they interviewed. And I actually spent about a month or so training that person to replace me. And I didn't do it all at once. Obviously, as you're a small business owner, and I was a micro business at that point, you need the income. So it's smart to transition as it allows you to, as you're building up the other pieces of your business. Usually in a small business, that is what you need to do to create some continuity and ensure that you have income coming in. So reason number one, some type of restructure of your business. Reason number two, the clients are a PITA. Okay, if you don't know what PITA stands for, it is pain in the butt, except it starts with an A. And there's a couple of different things that could be. Maybe they complain about everything. Maybe they're sarcastic to the point where they're actually a little bit hurtful. Maybe they're just rude or abrasive. Maybe they simply don't respect your time, your qualities. And, those are showing up in interactions that you have with them. I had a client once that I did fire, and it was because she made one of my team members cry. That's a no-go for me. This person had always been a little bit curt, a little bit short. And for the most part, we were able to deal with it and let it roll off. And one day she did something that was just so mean that the young lady started crying. And when we talked about this, I reached out to the client. When my team member and I talked about it, I reached out to the client. The client never responded to me, which was also not a good thing. Hey, if you made a mistake or something, you regret what you said, have that conversation with me, talk to me about it. And they would never face up to me and have that discussion with me. So after a couple of weeks trying to reach them to schedule a call, I finally had to resort to email because they would not schedule a call with me. And I gave them a 30-day notice. And so that is one instance where we've had to fire a client because they were overly rude. Okay. Some clients you just simply don't want to work with. Okay. And then there's the third reason is a client that's not profitable. Okay. Have you ever, taken on a client and it's like your good friend, and so you gave them the friends and family price? We've all done it. Or maybe you've got a client who's been with you a really long time, and as you raised your rates over time, you just haven't raised their rate. So now all of a sudden you've got rates that are here that are 50% more where when this person started with you 8 years ago. And your labor and your output to create whatever it is that you do has increased as well, but you're still getting the same pay. So that could be an instance in which you may want to fire a client. And here's the thing. There are ways to make it more profitable, of course. You can increase the rates, which is a good thing. And that would be my recommendation there is, first of all, and this has happened in my company, where we have some clients that are what we call legacy pricing, which means they came in at a much lower price and even they may or may not have gotten price increases. However, my overall public price has increased higher than what their rates have increased. And so in that case, I recommend not raising a client's rate more than 10% at any one given time. I did that once, and the client basically told me I was nuts. However, that client was a little bit rude and hard to work with as well. So that kind of segues very easily into what I'm saying. If you have a PITA client who you want to get rid of, however, it's not so much, you could potentially increase their rate quite a bit. The caveat there is that A, you don't want to increase it more than what your public rates are, and B, if they accept that rate, you're stuck with a PITA client. You're just making more money doing it. So I wanted to bring these things up. Why? Because as you create these goals to bring in new business, gain the clients that you love working with, be more profitable, you have to create the space to do it. And sometimes not letting go of those things that are not serving any longer. And that happens. That's just part of life. You have to be able to shed those things that do not serve any longer. And that may be clients. So do that so you have the space to create what it is that you're looking for. Speaking of creating what you're looking for, we have some great guests lined up for 2025. I'm going to have Trish Saman and Carolina Pondy, hopefully back on the podcast, but together this time because they are launching a podcast and they each have a book out. Trish just put hers out and Carolina's has been out for a while. So I'll let them tell you about it, but hint, hint, it has to do with making choices that are good for your business, including getting your unicorn clients. Nurture small business. We're here for you. We want to see you grow. If you have a question for me, drop it in my email. Send it, Denise@dcavirtual.com. Okay? I hope you have a wonderful holiday and an exceptionally prosperous and abundant 2025. Thank you for joining me for today's podcast, where I focus on women in business and how we can be allies to one another. Please rate us on the podcast app that you listen to the most and send me any ideas you have for podcast topics or any other feedback. I love to hear from my listeners. You can reach me at Denise@dcavirtual.com.